All right, we're here at the Northern Trust Open. I am very fortunate to get the invite into the Titleist tour van. It's gonna kind of be that behind the scenes for all you equipment nerds out there who love this stuff. I love this stuff, so let's go check it out. All right, we are inside the Titleist tour van. I'm here with Pete.
All right.
Pete's gonna take us through, kind of give us the behind the scenes of what to expect coming inside the tour van, what the players' equipment looks like. They're probably gonna be working on a couple things for the players today. And Pete, let's get started here. Take us through what the setup is here and where you do everything, if you don't mind.
So the setup, we actually will start back there. We call it the Players Lounge, place for people to hang out while they're working on stuff back here. We keep all our snacks, and we get a cooler out there and coffee machine and everything. And then we come in here. So we probably start with the putter area, the Scotty Cameron area. We call it the putter spot affectionately on here. So we've got all the weights and stuff, all the head covers, and they'll carry everything from all the different shafts into the grips, all the super strokes and lambkins and golf prides, and then we dive into all the grips that Scotty's designed. So all the fun colors and textures, whether it's the Petard's leather or kind of more of the wind leather. So we got to carry everything you guys need, and then always the fun one is bikinis.
Oh yeah.
Mostly what they're doing is a lot of loft lie regrip stuff. They can do length and adjustments and stuff, but we don't do that a lot with the mallets, because there's a certain jig that they want to use to make sure that they get it glued in the proper alignment, so that the loft and lie is set up right from the get-go. Then we would move on to kind of more of the middle of the trailer. So myself and David Southworth, we do driver fairway hybrid iron. We used to have some bins up here that we held everything in. We went ahead and had these designed in the off season, so we've got all our tips and ferrules, our iron tip weights. We've got the TS2 bezel weights, and then we've got our SureFit CG weights from TS. We still have 917 driver and fairway, and then 818 hybrids. So this is where we have all the good stuff. And then we've got different shaft drawers. So each manufacturer has at least one shaft drawer on here. Dave will carry similar amounts but different manufacturers than I do. So this would be Graphite Design. A lot of guys in IZ right now. And then we go to Fuji. So you've got Atmos, some of the Evo stuff. They've got 5 generations of Evo now. So it's hard to stay on top of everything, but more Fuji. You can see we do a lot with Fuji. And then we'll get into, UST, Project X, Acra. We've got to carry all the stuff that our guys play, plus anything they might want to test. Now, that being said, every shaft manufacturer has their own rep out here, but we like to carry as much product as we can so that we don't have to rely, if they run out of something. So a lot of times they'll come to us looking for stuff, so we carry a lot of product. And then we'll get into the headstocks. So this is 917 fairway and 816 hybrid. We're a little low on the inventory now because so many guys are getting into the TS product. So Dave will carry that on his side, but I still have to keep some 917 for guys that are still kind of in it. And then we've got the drivers. So we've got TS2 and TS3, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, and 11.5. So we're having tremendous success out here with the new TS product, and it's fun to be working with something that's such a great product with a lot of speed.
And I'm looking forward to getting back to Sleepy Hollow with Kevin Sprecher in 10 days to go through my TS fitting, so stay tuned for that. All right, let's shift gears. I want to go over there.
Okay.
So is it players coming in here? Is it their caddies? Is it their coaches? Is it everyone? Who's coming?
It's both. It's like an event like this, we're pretty far from the range. You're not going to see the players as much, but you're going to get caddies coming out here. We have 2 to 3 guys generally week in and week out that are going to be out on the range, working directly with the player. Okay. They're going to be coming to us and saying, hey, this is what we need to do. So-and-so needs a little more launch, a little less spin, whatever it might be. and then we go through our shafts, go through our heads, figure out how we can weight up the head a little bit differently, or what we can do to the shaft if we need to go to a different shaft, different tipping, whatever it might be. We can really get it dialed in, and then they go back out there and work directly with them on it.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it seems very scientific in here. I love it.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with hot melt has to go into every metal. It starts out as kind of a gel. Throw it into this machine. 330 degrees, it turns into a liquid. Now, when it comes out, you can manipulate it. You can move it around in the head. You can kind of see in this cutout, it goes in. If you've ever wondered what that hole is on the bottom of the driver, that's the hot melt port. So needle will go in there, it'll shoot out, and you can, depending on how you manipulate the head, you can get it to roll into different places in the head. So whether it would be, in the 917 head, you get the SureFit CG weight here. You could put it behind the SureFit CG weight. You could put it up against the face. You can put it directly on the sole, toe, heel. Whatever you do with that, it's going to manipulate how the club performs. Whether it's sound, anytime you add more hot melt to a club, it's going to sound a little more muffled. So sometimes you get guys like Jimmy Walker really likes that muffled sound of quiet drivers, so we load his up, especially when he was playing the short driver. We had to throw a ton of hot melt in there to get it up to swing weight.
Wow. Even
with the SureFit CG weight being as heavy as it was, we had to load it up with hot melt. So he got exactly what he wanted, a really quiet driver. Whereas conversely, you've got like Matt Jones likes a very loud driver. So you use the heaviest weight with as little rack load as possible.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, so what you've kind of seen, I'll kind of show you guys this. We use this grid for our TS drivers now. So depending on the number of locations, that's where we're putting hot melt. So we can dial in exactly where we want it, how much we want there, and each different location is going to change performance. So if you've got 2, you're going to put it out on the toe, it's going to draw a little less. 3, it's going to draw a little bit more. 4, we're going to kind of move that CG back up, and you might get a little bit more launch. 5's on the crown, you're going to get some more spin. So we're trying to get very in depth, as there's really no limit to what we can do. So we use hot melt out here a little bit more than we put hot melt in every club, but for the main consumer, the consumer can't necessarily get this kind of service. But that's why we came out with the SureFit CG weight originally in the 917 and now in the TS driver. Is it gives the ability to move the CG draw and fade bias like we would be able to do strictly with hot melt. Now we can do it with the SureFit CG weight. So now with the TS, it's actually got a magnetic cap, so it's not 2 different weights, one that was neutral, one that was draw fade. So now it's just one piece. So what we do out here, we again use the SureFit CG weight, but we can get a little bit more out of it with the hot melt. So that's not necessarily something that the normal consumer can get, but they still get the SureFit CG weight, so you'll still be able to get it dialed in pretty good. Other than that, you come and see me, get your torque card, and we'll get it dialed in.
That's it. After this, Peter's going to customly design me my own Scotty Cameron. Fingers crossed.
Back here, are you available?
I am available.
Is Aaron Dill. So Aaron does all the Vokey Wedge business out here, so he can give you a little tour of his area.
Cool, thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Aaron, take us through your little playpen in here.
You got it. So this is really a smaller version of what we have in the big room. Golf club assembly, whether it's a putter to a driver, it's still pretty simple. It's the head, the shaft, the grip, the glue, putting all those things together and creating a piece that fits what the player needs. So on our scale, because wedges are the shortest clubs in the bag, we don't need as much room as the big room does. So there's a little bit less traffic in here, which is great. Volk and I work in here together. He's gonna actually come out next week with me, so we're gonna be in here grinding away. But before this room was built, right where you're standing is where this grinder was. And this thing is noisy, it's dusty, and it's running all the time. So it was disturbing the great work that these guys were doing, Peter and his team, and we wanted to sort of separate those things and keep some of the wedge noise and dust out of the normal stuff. So
kind of you guys.
Yeah, so they were great. They said, hey, we're going to give you guys a spot in the nose. so they let us have this great little spot.
Excellent.
But we got the grinding wheel here. This is my best friend, this and the Mitchell machine. But we run this often. I would say between 70 and 80% of what we give away out here on tour is in some way put on these wheels. Raw is our preferred finish out here as well for the polishing purposes, the aesthetic purposes. So we do a lot of raw parts. We'll get to those heads here in just a moment, but the grinder, we run it all the time. Some guys like square leading edges, square toes, thinner top lines, modifications in the soles, the bounces, the cambers, and that's where this grinding wheel is really great for us, is we can change all those things. We can customize the wedge for the person, for the golf course, for the needs of the individual, and we can do it all right here in the van. So this grinding wheel is a big part of what we do, and we run it often.
So we closed the door because we're going to get loud in here. I asked Aaron if we can actually get to work and use this machine, because now I'm excited to use it. So let's explain. What are we going to do?
All right, so I'm going to pull apart. Now while we're over here looking at the parts, let me show you guys some inventory. The wedge is the most commonly changed piece of the bag outside of the golf ball. With that being said, we're very fortunate. Mr. Vokey's name on our parts makes my job really easy. So anybody who plays out here on tour who can play a Vokey wedge, wants to play Vokey wedge, and we make sure that we have enough product for them. So we carry between 500 and 600 parts in this van a week. I'll replenish inventory every Monday. I'm actually doing inventory as we speak.
Cool.
But if you look at this, there's a lot of history in these drawers. They're all labeled based on what's inside. I would say over 70% of what we do out here on the PGA Tour is converted into our newest line of SM7s. We do have some guys here and there that like an old part. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just a relationship they built with the part. You just never know. We want to make sure that if those guys want it or need it, that we're ready to go and we have it. But to give you guys an idea of the volume we have to carry every week, we have drawers, drawer after drawer after drawer. And you just go all the way to the top, and that's for both sides. All these different parts have different profiles, bounces, lofts, you name it. And it makes my job really simple. If a guy has a specific need, he wants to see something, he wants to feel something, he wants to hear something, we can achieve it. We've got so many different SKUs. So I get to use this library of different heads to produce whatever the guys need.
Do any players actually, I see the paint over there, those are for custom stamping.
That's right.
Correct? Do any players get custom stamping for different events, just randomly, like a superstition type thing?
All the time.
Okay, cool.
So some guys are cool in the sense that when we get to an event, they say, hey, I need a new wedge. And I go, great, well, what are we going to stamp? And they go, just put my initials on there. I go, no, it's boring. We're not going to do that. He goes, well, then just do whatever you want. I'll give you an example. Robert Streb, one of our staffers, he's great. He just says, hey, you have creative freedom. Do whatever you want.
Oh, so cool.
We might get to an event like the John Deere Classic, and I might do something John Deere themed, or the Valspar, and we might do the Chameleon, or we might do. You just never know.
That's
so
neat.
The guys are cool about letting me just do whatever I kind of want to do. And
that's cool. I love it.
If they don't have anything on their minds that they want to do. So part of the process and what we do is not only do we want to build the best product, we want to tell a cool story.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can tell cool things in the back of a wedge just based on the stamping.
Absolutely, and like we always talk about on the podcast, my new SM7s, I got hot sauce in orange on my 56 degree. It's a personal thing, and I think Frank has up and down in different colors on his 56, and of course we got Golficity on the 60, and then I love the snow pattern. I got the skulls on my 48.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I went with, but it's cool to see it right here, and this is where they do it for the pros.
Yeah, here's a good example. I actually have a wedge here I just finished. This is Justin Thomas's. His Gamer 60, and you look at what he stamps on the radar, that has a lot of cool history to it. You know, this goes all the way back to his college days. When he first came out here on tour, I said, hey, let's make you some new wedges. You want to stamp anything? He's like, yeah, radar's kind of stale. Like, let's change it up a little bit. I said, what do you want to do? He's like, well, I love hip hop. So he's like, let's do some hip hop lyrics.
Right.
So we found some that were clean.
Yeah.
And we put them on there. And then about 4 or 5 months later, he's like, you know, my short game's not as good as it used to be. So let's go back to radar.
I love it.
And the rest is history. He's won major. It's been great. So this is actually his gamer here. Well, not his current gamer, but this is a backup. So a lot of times when we get together with guys, I'll just come by and check in and say, hey, how are your wedges doing? Any issues? They'll say, you know what, everything's good, or it's time for a freshie. Let's get a backup going. So this is his backup. We got this thing ready to go. And when he's ready to make a switch, hand it over. Everything's checked and ready to go, and he can go out and play golf. I'm gonna do some grinding. One kind of grind out here that's really been popular the last 6 months is what we call a reduced ribbon. And it's essentially where we take these lines. We've got 2 different shelves here. This hard line that we see on this 5608M, it's very pronounced. You can feel it with your fingers, you can see it visually. And sometimes when you get to certain grasses or soil styles, this line is felt in the ground. It creates kind of a sticky, slow feeling that players, I don't want to say are turned off by, but it causes confusion in their hands. And so when we get to situations like that, we want to reduce that ribbon, take it down, and smooth it out. And it almost, in a sense, looks a little bit like a K-style sole, where we're just kind of taking this little edge off and making it glide faster and smoother through the grass. So I'm going to take that down. This is just a stock 5608. Yeah, this thing's ready to go. And basically, like I said, all we're doing is we're just taking that hard edge down, we're softening that. The player right away is going to hit this and he's going to say, wow, it glides, it's a little faster, it's a little smoother. It's essentially what guys are trying to feel is that quick action through the ground. Creates confidence, helps them find the bottom a little bit better. And when you can reduce that sticky feeling, guys are just feeling much more confident about wedge play.
Awesome. Thanks, Aaron.
You got it.